I'm Jason Holcomb, Director of Public Relations for Dublin City Schools, and I'm joined today with Coach Jeroy Stuckey. This is the Dublin Coaches Show. Coach, we've had an interesting first week. The Lady Irish are off to a 2-1 start. Got quality wins against Wilkinson and against Twiggs, and a very close loss to Trutland. Let's go ahead and start things off with Twiggs. The girls seem to be really at their best that Tuesday night. Talk about that game for just a minute.
Yeah, it was the first game, first home game of the season, so they really came out to play. They really got after it. We got a lot of steals, which led to some layups and transitions. So I think we ended up winning by about 25 points. So it was just a good showing on that first day on last Tuesday.
I'm sure you don't mind this early in the year being able to give some of those girls on the bench some good minutes. Hopefully in the year you can work them in more regularly.
Right. Like you said, just getting them more floor time. It's nothing like game experience. You know, we practice a lot, but just being able to get out there in the game, it was always good. So we had all of our players, they were able to get in that day, and just a good opportunity for them to learn and to get better.
Then we shift over to Friday night, and on Friday night, very tight game. Trutland has been a traditionally quality basketball team, especially on the girls' side. You guys gave them all they could handle that night. What did you take away from that game?
I saw that we really had some heart. You know, we got down late, about 6 or 8 points in that fourth quarter, so we had to turn our pressure up. The girls, they really got after it. They didn't give up. They kept fighting. We ended up dropping a nail biter by 1 point. So we took a lot from it. We play them again this weekend, so we're looking forward to it.
And then finally, Saturday was another big matchup. Hosted Wilkinson County. The Rock was rocking for sure. Talk about that game. It was a lower scoring contest than what you guys had done your previous 3 games, including your preseason game against Montgomery County. What were some things that you had to do differently during that game to be able to put you guys out in front?
Well, I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, we came out very sluggish on Saturday. Got down by about 10 in the first half. We were able to cut it to about 2 at halftime, but really got in the hole out early. But the girls, they fought back once again. We had to rely on our pressure, and that enabled us to get some steals. That game actually ended up going into overtime, and in overtime we were able to make some shots down the stretch and get some good defensive stops. We ended up winning by 6. So like I told the girls, you know, it was an ugly win, but sometimes, you know, you're going to be in those tight ball games, so it taught us how to play down the stretch when the game is really close.
And how big a deal is it for you guys to get these early games under the belt? How much of a role will these games play as we head deeper into the region schedule and hopefully into region playoffs and state playoffs?
They're big. You know, you really want to play against some good competition early to kind of, you know, test yourself in terms of where you are, see what you really need to work on with your non-region schedule. So they're very big, they're very important, and we try to, like I tell the girls, we want to come out each and every night and really do what we're supposed to so we can see where we are and see what kind of adjustments we need to make prior to region play.
Well, we're going to take a real quick break here and come back and talk about what's coming up for the Lady Irish, as well as talk about a few players that are making some very big names for themselves early on in the season. We'll be back in just a second. It's the Dublin Coaches Show on TV 35.
What was once simple isn't so simple anymore. Yet you just can't be there for them all the time. But we can.
Oh, the kettle. It's okay. I got it.
At home instead, we understand. It's why we offer individualized care for every unique situation to keep your aging loved ones safe and sound. At home, instead of anywhere else. Call or visit us at homeinstead.com/health.
We're back with the Dublin Coaches Show. I'm Jason Holcomb, joined by Coach Jeroy Stuckey. Coach, we just talked about last week and the way the girls were able to get off to a 2-1 start, 3-1 if you count the preseason win over Montgomery County. There have been a handful of girls that are really making significant contributions to the Lady Irish. Let's go ahead and get started with Keija Wilcher. She seems to be a real dominant force for you.
Right. She's averaging about 13 points a game and about 8 rebounds. And I told her at the beginning of the season, you know, she's a senior. And so I told her, you know, I'm expecting her to be a leader. She's doing a good job of leading the girls in practice in the games. And Wilkinson County game, we really were able to throw it down there to her a couple times down the stretch. She was able to get baskets. Also, Jessica Hollis, she's right there with her, another senior leader. She's averaging right about 13 and 8. Wilkinson County game, I called a 1-4 low really wanted to isolate her, and she was able to get to the basket. She made a good layup on one of the plays, and then the next play down, she had a good assist. So those two, they've been our senior leaders. They're doing a good job scoring-wise and also controlling the boards.
Well, and talk about, you know, when you've got these senior leaders, it doesn't hurt that they seem to be players that can play pretty much anywhere on the court. You know, I've seen them play up top at the point. I've seen them play down low in the post. How good is that for you as a coach to be able to get these girls to move around and encourage the other girls to say, look, you know, your role may change from time to time?
That's one thing I stress with Jessica, with Keisha. A lot of times with Jessica, she might run the point guard on the play, or I might put her at the 4. So she just has to know the plays from each position and just know her role. But they're doing a great job with it. They take it in stride, and that's really big, like you said, in teaching the other girls as well.
And keeping on that same focal point, you know, these girls have had some experience. They've had some playoff experience. I know that's some of those intangibles that you really can't put a value on, but particularly when we talk about the preseason, getting up into the season, how big a part did that play in them being able to help mentor and shape those other girls to be ready for this time of year? It
played a big part. We do preseason conditioning with our cross-country team, and Jessica was here every day, you know, working on a shot, working on ball handling. So just the mental part of it, preparing yourself for what's at stake, I think they really realized that. And the younger girls, they started to see that, and they will show up as well. Once they see the leader is setting the tone of what's expected, then they jump right in line.
Another statistic that kind of stood out to me is you guys are getting a lot of steals, which means there's a lot of defensive pressure. Talk about your defensive posture and how that plays into your ability to create opportunities.
Right. Well, as much as we can, we try to play an up-tempo style of play, which heavily relies on our defense. We do a lot of pressure. We put Keisha up on the ball. We have some fast guards, and Alexis Carr and Terriana Rozier. And I think they're probably averaging about 4 steals a game. And I strongly believe the more chances you get to shoot the ball, the more points you can score. So we try to get as many shots at the basket as possible, and playing that type of style of play really allows us to get more opportunities to.
Does any of that come back from your days of playing ball? Because you came from a fast break style, high pressure oriented. Is that where you kind of lean on?
Yeah, Coach Thomas. I was under Coach Williams for some years, and so they all believe in that type of play. And anytime, Dublin, Georgia, we have athletes, so you know they can run, they can get up there quick, they can get up and down the floor. So it's been that way for years, and so we try to keep it that way, keep the tradition going.
Well, and talking about athletes, a couple other girls, you mentioned Alexis Carr during the break. Talk about her and some of the other girls that are being contributors early on this year.
Right, her, Terriana Rozier, Takora Smith, all of those girls are juniors, so they had to jump in the fight this year. We graduated some senior guards last year, and they've stepped right in, haven't missed a beat. I think Alexis is averaging around 12. She's pretty much our three-point specialist. So she had a big 3 against Wilkerson that put us up by 1 down the stretch. Terriana Rozier, she's been doing a good job. She's averaging right about 9 points and about 5 assists. One thing about her, she's going to give you everything she got, especially on defense. She'll get in there and mix it up. She gets a lot of steals, back tips. So that whole junior class, in terms of our guards, they're doing a great job.
And I know you've got experience about giving all you got and finding your role, because in your case, you came in as a junior and your role was much different than it was as a senior. Do you see some of those qualities coming out of any of your girls right now where you could see them maturing kind of like you did coming into your senior season?
I do, and I'm able to share some of the experiences that I had and just help them along the way. And so up to this point, they're doing a good job assuming their role and playing their role.
Well, we're going to take another quick break. We'll come back in just a few minutes. Make sure to pay homage to all our sponsors. This is the Dublin Coaches Show on TV 35.
If you want a paint that's more than just easy to scrub, if you want a paint that actually repels dirt and grime, if you want a paint that stands up to life's wear and tear, only this can. Regal Select from Benjamin Moore. Paint like no other.
Available at Four Seasons Paint and Floor Covering.
We're back with the Dublin Coaches Show. I'm Jason Holcomb, joined by Coach Jeroy Stuckey. This week we're getting a whole lot of the girls basketball. Coach Paul Williams is out sick. We hope you get better, Coach. We need you on the sidelines chewing on your towel as much as possible. Anybody who knows Coach knows that when he gets excited, the towel gets chewed on. So kind of like Coach Tarkanian from UNLV days. That's really old for some of you viewers. But Coach Stuckey's here. He doesn't really bite on towels. And he doesn't really yell a whole lot either, which is impressive because as a coach, I do a lot of yelling. Coach, we were talking about that first week and we talked about some of the girls. Now we want to talk about what lays ahead for us. We had a night off. What did you guys use that night for?
We're coming right here at the end of the semester. We have finals coming up. So I gave the girls a day off on yesterday, Tuesday, and I was able to go and do a little scouting, see some of our region foes. So I used that as a day to kind of get ahead and also giving the girls a little rest to rest their legs and also preparing mentally on their academics. So I want to make sure that they're maintaining those grades. So that was basically how we handled that day off on yesterday. Now,
we don't want to give away any of the secrets that we learned from last night, but any of the basics that you saw and how you're going to have to apply those whenever it comes into the region schedule.
Just main thing, our region is going to be competitive, so just realizing that we're going to have to come out and play each night. You know, there are no nights off. Everybody's going to come out, especially when you have Dublin across your chest. For whatever reason, you know, you become a target. So just going to have to come out and play and come to play every night.
Now, who are some of the teams that for the casual fan that they need to be keeping an eye on when they see those on the schedule for the Lady Irish?
In terms of our region, Dodge County is good this year. I think they came in with high expectations. Washington County, who's been traditionally good for years and years. Blakely, I think Coach Manning over there, she does a great job. And also East Lawrence, they have some young girls this year, and they're doing a great job. So as you can see, just a lot of people that you really have to worry about, and you have to be ready to play for each night.
So basically, you're saying we're going to have to earn everything that we get this year. What do you do as a coach to keep that on the girls' minds? Because I know you don't want to wear them out on the subject, but how do you keep that focus and that intensity going for an entire season?
We watch a lot of film, so instead of me just talking about it, they're actually able to see it and say, hey, I see what Coach is talking about. And we just do a lot of preparing each and every night. We'll go over the different strategies for different teams, and they do a good job of preparing and getting ready, so I don't think it'll be much of an issue.
Now, this coming week, we've got a couple of teams that we've already faced. Talk about the things that we learned from those first matchups that we can apply to these second matchups. In one case, have the same outcome, hopefully, and in another, flip the outcome.
Right. With Twigs, like I said, we were able to use our pressure, so we're going to try to utilize that. We realized that they're going to come out to play. First part of the game, you know, it was pretty close. We were able to kind of stretch the lead in the second half, but we realized we're going to have to come to play from the get-go on Friday. And also with Trutland, we'll hopefully be able to make some plays down the stretch that we weren't able to make that first time that we played them, and hopefully we can come out victorious on Saturday.
Now, then we stretch into the final week of school, and it starts stretching into the whole focus. I know I've been in school before, and you're not that far removed from school, which I was just talking to somebody about because I actually covered Jeroy when he played high school basketball. So now we're peers. Makes me feel a little old, but that's fine. We're good. But that being said, you know very well that this time of year can be full of distractions, and where you talk about finals and you talked about, you know, you've got a Christmas break coming up. Leading into that break, what are some of the things that you're telling your girls so that they don't get distracted or get sidetracked or we don't hit a bump in the road?
Right. Just staying focused. Like you said, with finals, your school schedule is kind of different. And then even over the Christmas break, you don't have school, so they have to have transportation. We're still going to have practice. You know, they're not already at school, so they're going to have to prepare and make sure they have a ride to and from practice. And you just kind of get out of the routine of things. And for kids, sometimes, you know, that kind of throws everything off whack. But I just know in last year it wasn't a problem. And most of these girls, they played last year, so I think we'll be fine. But just the main thing, just keeping them focused and just making sure you keep them aware of everything that you have coming down the pipeline.
Now, one of those things that we're keeping aware of is a Christmas tournament that we've played in pretty regularly up in Wilkinson County, a tournament that you actually played in when they originally christened the the Palace, as they call it, up in Wilkinson County. Talk about going to those type of arenas, because for those who aren't familiar, this place holds around 5,000 people. So it's a very large arena. To me, it kind of prepares them in some ways for the Centerplex if you can get that far. Talk about those type of tournament situations and what they give the girls in terms of preparing them for down the road.
Right. We looked at a number of tournaments. We want to play over the break. You know, we don't want to take time off and get out of shape and lose game time. So we looked at a number of tournaments. We were able to get into the Wilkinson tournament. I like that tournament. It's a hostile environment some nights, in which you need to have experience playing in those type of environments, and region play, and hopefully if you can make it to state play, in which high expectations are there and the fans are rowdy. So it's just a good atmosphere and also good basketball. We'll have some good competition. I think Savannah High will be down there this year. Taylor County, they're a good.
And that's who you guys open with, right?
We open with Taylor. I think they won the state about 2 years ago, and they have a lot of girls returning. So it'll be some good competition, and also not too far away, so some of our fans can come and support us as well.
Now, I know that obviously when you're coaching, you want to win every single game that you can. But I know that listening to Coach Holmes and talking to some other coaches in the past, this time of year is really as much about trying to learn who you are, trying to learn that identity. What are you hoping to learn, and what have you learned so far about the Lady Irish, and how that will apply long term to region and hopefully playoff pushes?
Right. And that's one thing I'm learning as a young coach, I guess. You can't win them all. I want to. I'm a fierce competitor, so every night we strap them up. But that's one thing I'm learning, and you just want to, you want to take some moral victory sometimes, even from some of your losses. So some of the things that I'm seeing that we really need to work on: ball handling, making sure we just know where we're supposed to be at all times, and just every possession counts. So things along those lines that we're learning early, I think, will help us in the long run.
And when we're talking about learning lessons, probably the biggest lesson they'll learn about themselves is how hard they can really push themselves. And what part of your training do you think helps them? Is it the mental side? Is it the physical side? Is it a combination? What have you guys done so far this year that you feel like has got them in line to maybe do something special?
I think it's a little bit of both, like you said, the mental part and the physical part. And I'll say, no matter what you do in practice, for whatever reason, even when I played, the game is always different. And I think Friday night when we played Trutland, I think some of the girls, they were really tired with the defense we were playing, but once they hit the wall, they kept pushing. Some of them, they were in the huddle. They would tell me they were tired. I said, you just got to keep going. I think they really did, and it showed as we were able to make a run right there at the end. So I think that's just the main thing. Like you said, realizing, hey, I'm tired, but I got to keep going in order to help my team and hopefully get the win.
Hopefully we won't get too tired here, because we've still got a whole nother segment. We're going to talk some more basketball, maybe rehash some of your favorite memories from back in your day. But in this moment, we're going to take a break. It's the Dublin Coaches Show on TV 35.
If you're suffering from a non-healing wound, we have good news. The Downtown Dublin Wound Center offers advanced treatments, experience, and state-of-the-art technology, including hyperbaric oxygen treatments for healing most any wound, even those that won't respond to conventional treatment. Call us today at 410-3500. Let Dr. Davis and his staff get you on the road to recovery. Downtown Dublin Wound Center, 124D West Madison Street, downtown Dublin.
We're back for one last little brush up here with Coach Jeroy Stuckey. I'm Jason Holcomb. This is the Dublin Coaches Show on TV 35. Coach, we've talked a lot about what you're doing currently, but we've got a few minutes left, so I thought it would be cool to look back to what you did back in your day. For those who aren't familiar, Coach Stuckey was part of the 2005-2006 Class AA State Championship basketball team, and what we talked about at one point earlier in the show was how your role changed from a junior to a senior. You went from a bench player, normally one of the first subs off the bench, to becoming a real part of the starting lineup and a major contributor that year. I think you averaged 10 or 12 points a game during that season. We're talking about this time of year, and in particular tournament time. We used to host a tournament here, a Coca-Cola tournament. Coach Clint Thomas and I was teasing him about the hospitality room. They actually had little McDonald's hamburgers, so that's telling you where my mind was when I went to come cover Coach Stuckey. But Coach, there was a particular memory you talked about. It involved you getting a little higher than people are used to seeing you get. Let's talk about that game first, and then we'll talk about that moment. What do you remember about that game?
I know going into, I think we were undefeated in Hepzibah. They were pretty good that year. I think they were undefeated. So a lot of people were looking forward to that game. It was a big game around Christmas time. A lot of people were home. I think we were in the old gym at that time, but we had a good crowd over there that night.
And in particular, our crowd got a little excited because Coach Stuckey got a little vertical on us. I'd love to be able to find that picture. Talk about how it led up to this big dunk for you.
Right. I used to, the other guys, they would always tease me. I always would try to dunk and dunk at practice sometimes, but never could in the game. But I had an opportunity. I think they had a turnover, and I was able to get the steal, and on the fast break, and that was the first one of the season. And like you said, some of the fans were kind of surprised, but I remember it like yesterday.
I'll tell you what else I remember. This team was very special in that they had played together pretty much their entire lives. Most of them are related in some form or fashion. Some are cousins, some are distant cousins, some are just good friends that might as well be brothers. Talk about those relationships and connecting it back around to today. Do you see some of those relationships developing among your girls?
I do, and like you said, we were a close-knit group. Even Chris Wright, he was at the game this past weekend. He came up to my office during halftime. I was able to talk with him. Ben, I know he's playing overseas basketball now. But when he comes home, we always usually play around the Christmas break, so we're looking forward to that coming up soon. And so it's just, and that's what I try to teach the girls, you know, some of the relationships that you're building now, you know, 10 years down the line. You know, you still should be close, still should be able to rely on each other. And I do see some of those relationships with some of our girls. Some of them are our family members, and some of them are just close friends. So it's kind of crazy how it all comes back around, and I'm able to see myself in some of the kids nowadays.
Yeah, and that's what's so funny for me, because I'm sitting here standing beside somebody who's a peer and a coworker, and who is somebody that I came and covered at the gym just across the way not too long ago. And so for me, it's really awesome. I get to see success stories like Coach Stuckey in play, and my hope is that he's raising up the next success stories out of Dublin City Schools. Coach, before we go, we're going to go to Wilkinson County during the Christmas break. What would you like to say to your fans to encourage them to make that 20-minute drive up to Irwinton?
You know, we really would like to garner their support. It's only a 20-minute ride. It'll be a great environment. A lot of people might be home during the break, Christmas break. So if you're not doing anything, you know, feel free to drive up 441 and come out and support your Lady Irish.
Well, we want to tell you right now, it's been so much fun getting to reconnect with Coach Stuckey. We hope that you guys will come check us out on TV 35 every week. Go to Max Preps to check out all our schedules. Check out our DCS.Irish for all our social media. This has been the Dublin Coaches Show on TV 35.